Okay, so whoops, I had that unlisted. Let's try that again. Do this, and then we're gonna over here, and da-da. Discord. Open Discord. Aha, well here we are. My server. Server. Alright, sorry, I'm gonna go back to my thing over here so I can see the chat. Do I have a chat? How are we doing? Ooh, looks like we have some people. People, yay! Hi, people. Got it. Nope, I want all chat. Hello, people. Oh, no, yeah. Live chat. Okay, there we go. Hello, how are you? Yes, happy Friday. Oh. So, I have a project. Of course, I don't do things until they're urgent. I've had this idea for a while that I want to do a textile design sort of thing. So I'm going to paint some sunburst lichen on here. I think they're called Xanthoria parietina. If you are a but they're widely present in urban environments. Sorry, I need to find some images. And they seem to show up quite frequently. We'll start with that one. They seem to show up quite frequently in, come on, oh my goodness, there, and then this one here, and then no, here, no, where'd it go? This one, this thing, okay, back to here. Why do you not want to? Okay, fine. And this one just doesn't want to, okay. And where's the other thing? Where's the other thing? No, I don't want it to be full screen. I want to see both the chat and my reference. That's what I want. Yeah, oranges and yellows. We like oranges and yellows. Sorry, so they show up a lot on young trees. There's a lot of silver maples that get planted as street trees here because they're a local species. And they're pretty. And then these sunburst lichens show up on them and just look like these crazy polka dots. And it's just one example of a pattern I've seen over and over and over again of if I have, what am I doing here? I want one in the middle at 6, and then I want two and 10. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's just one example of something that's really loud and like a really crazy pattern, but people don't seem to notice it. They just sort of phase it out. So we've got all of this really neat texture of all these really neat natural bits of nature that are all around us. We tend to just not notice them. And so I am just going to paint 9 of these, and then I'm going to turn this into a repeating pattern. I'm going to scan it in, turn it into a repeating pattern, and I actually want to put it on a silver background. So the other thing I'm going to do is silver leaf this, possibly on some later stream. Yeah, so there's a grant still. The results should have come out for this grant a long time ago, but they haven't yet. So I still have a hope that I have gotten that grant, that I'm actually doing a disability related project, where I'm going to be decorating some mobility aids, and it's a sort of humorous take on invisible disability. I wear corsets for medical purposes. And so I'm working with my corsetier to make some custom corsetry with my design on it. And so I'm gonna do a bunch of textile patterns of overlooked patterns in urban nature. And you know, if I wear silver with bright yellow polka dots, bright yellow lichen polka dots, does that mean I become invisible? So that's a fun thing, and then I'm taking a few different explorations with this, but I've been experimenting with, yeah, different ways of communicating things that aren't just, you know, a flat painting. So and then okay, these don't have to be exactly the same size, but I do want them pretty even. Nope, that's maybe a little too small. Yeah, that's maybe a little too small. So I'm just trying to find a reference circle. And that one's a little too big. No, I think I will use this, but I'll just use it as the far, far outside. I put that there. I say boop, boop. Then this paper. Well, it's not paper. It's a panel. It's been out for a little bit too long. And my pets got into it a little bit. But it doesn't, I've realized it doesn't really matter because I'm going to silver leaf the whole thing. So that's my plan. Anyway, there's a residency program that I'm applying to today that I wanted to use this in the portfolio for, so I guess come hell or high water I am painting these lichen. I might be here for a while. But on the other hand, I also think that this is a deceptively simple, I might be cursing this by expressing that opinion. But that it's not actually going to take all that much doing to paint this thing. I might come back and do some more details on it later as well. With real gold that you can burnish after applying, and I was so tempted. Far too clumsy. Well, yes, I imagine that I'm going to make quite the mess. The truth is, I mean, I don't know. I might just be, like, I might just not be as good at writing grants as I think I am. I certainly struggle with, like, hitting the right balance, with, you know, artist statements. not too matter of fact. Get some artsy words in there, but don't make it too fancy. More of a technical writer, I guess. But I am hopeful that part of the issue, I'm hopeful is a weird word for that. I suspect that part of the issue is that because I'm using very traditional media in a lot of my projects, you know, a lot of places are looking for something more obviously innovative. And so I'm hopeful that with a little bit more, ooh, okay, that's a little bit of a spill there. I'm hopeful that by playing with these things and doing these like textile reproductions and applications to fabric and whatever, that those will help this read a little bit more I don't know, groundbreaking, interesting, worth government investment. But I'm also just coming to terms with I might have to find my way back into engineering and figuring out how I'm going to do that. So that's another question, because I graduated in 2015, but I basically didn't ever work in my field post-graduation. I did have some work experience because I took a long time in school. I was working for a few years before I had technically graduated. But I graduated, and then by that point I had already sort of left the field. I was already sort of pursuing an art career, and I had a part-time job at an engineering firm, but it wasn't an engineering firm in my field, and I wasn't really, I wasn't doing any civil engineering work. Cats would look gorgeous. And a gold leaf kitty, like an Egyptian mummy cat. It's definitely where. Hi, Stephen. How are you? Anyway, yeah. So that's a little bit upsetting. Also really gotten used to having my assistant here, so I really want to make it possible to keep her around, because she makes my life so much more pleasant. But yeah, without grants. Anyway, hopefully the grant for this thing comes through, and that'll help bridge that gap. And if it doesn't, well, just have to teach more classes. And then figure out how to become an engineer again. If anyone has great suggestions, I'm open to all of them. Degrees are funny things. I'm grateful I got one, but most people I know over here do something completely different to what they studied. Well, yes, so here's my issue. I have a civil engineering degree. I'm not super tied to I need to work in that field, but you know, as degrees go, it's considered a relatively useful one. And certainly if I look at, you know, what jobs I'm qualified for otherwise, especially because I've been self-employed for the past 7 years, and of those, you know, I've had 3 years of, I had some serious health issues. So, you know, it's not just, like, I feel like I would struggle just finding any, you know, real job. But then also in terms of pay, like, without a great deal of experience in anything particularly technical, you know, well, I'm bilingual, so maybe I can get a few extra dollars there, but like, you know, it's hard to earn any substantial amount of money. So it would be really nice if I could leverage that engineering degree, which would definitely, you know, get me more. The trouble is, because I've been out of the field for so long and I never really got a huge amount of experience, I'm always going to be passed over for a new grad, right? Like if a company has a choice between a fresh new 22-year-old engineering graduate and a 35-year-old who graduated 10 years ago, they're always going to go for the fresh grad. There's literally, like, I don't offer any advantage. So, you know, I'm basically unhireable as it is. So I've looked into maybe doing a construction project management diploma at the local college just to get myself current, like to have a current thing on my resume. It is related to, was one of my specializations when I was in school. I would be happy to do project management for a while. But really I can't just keep depending on Jordan, and my big grants plan didn't really pan out, so suddenly I was a developer, then it happened again, I was a business analyst and an information architect, and now I'm in finance. That's amusing. Yeah, I did UX for a little while, which, again, like, I came out of civil engineering with a building science degree, so UX was way out there. If the software, like, I live in Software Central, and, you know, in the past, my husband was like, well, just get yourself a software job, whatever, we'll just prep you and get you hired and you'll learn. Which, you know, okay, cool. But the software industry is also kind of struggling right now, so. But yeah, I think probably my best bet with that is just to update my skills. Take a diploma program in something. You know, just 8 months of college and good as new. Suddenly I have a diploma with the current year on it. Yeah, so it is a slightly, there's something else mixed in, because I didn't clean the pen properly, but it's sketch ink. Carmine. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of the dough. Let's see, let's find a different image. And funny that art has gone from having to be traditional to having to be radical. Yeah. Yeah. It's a balance, right? Because they want something that's really super believable, like, okay, you need to have a really clear idea of what you're doing. Be super specific, but also we want you to experiment and break boundaries and whatever. I haven't figured out what the... I thought that I was a really good writer and that, you know, if given the space to apply to grants properly, that I would be able to just, you know, follow the formula and get the grants. I was pretty confident. So that was a bit upsetting to find out. Yeah, not so much. And I mean, I always knew that nothing's ever guaranteed, but there's been a lot of hits recently. A lot of hits recently. Hi, Dan. Thank you for the hugs. I really appreciate them. Definitely need lots of hugs right now. And then, now that that lower one has had some time to dry, I'm going to take this and see if I can get just this extra stuff off. But then I'm going to silver leaf all around it, so the fact that this panel's a little bit shouldn't actually be a problem. Hello, Miss Ambrose. Sell a hidden disability line of products. Okay, I like it. Tell me more. Working in finance is so fun, isn't it? Dan, is that what you're working in now too? Tell me more about what you envision with your line of products. What products are we talking about? Hi, Gabber, how are you? Oh, Ember. What's up, Ember? What's up? Oh, Aru. What's up, Aru? Maru. You're making fabric. There are lots of things that are made from fabric. Yes, there are many things that are made from fabric. And yet, tell me more. So how does my lichen tie back to disability as part, like, I'm with the corsets and the, like, if I put, you know, this stuff on a mobility scooter, that's definitely disability related. If I decorate some knee braces with this. Ultimately follow what interests you. Well, yes. So actually, I mean, I'm happy to get some feedback on that too, because I feel like, you know, I develop a narrative for various projects. And I have this invisible disability project that it's like every time I write an application and anything to do with it, it just feels like I know there's something there, but I don't quite have the words to describe it. Lichen and sunflowers. They do have similar colors. Is there a meaning to sunflowers that I'm unaware of? Definitely hidden disability needs some attention. It's also just been interesting because I have a service dog as well. You hear her being sassy. She's very sassy at home. She's completely silent outside the house. It's great. Because at home you'd think she's just, oh, she's a real brat at home, but any moment we get out, she knows what her job is. Lichen is a good metaphor. It's everywhere and you don't always see it. Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. I mean, that is sort of where I was drawing a parallel from, like, hidden in plain sight. And sometimes it's, like, really obvious, right? And yet still... I mean, I was also just playing with the idea of, like, the lichen, the crazy, crazy bright lichen, and then corsetry, because I feel like that one, you know, in many contexts, it's like, oh yeah, well, this would make, you know, you put this pattern on a car, and it's gonna stand right out. But you put this pattern on a corset and wear it out, and I feel like it's like this mixed, you know, privilege and disadvantage that I look young, I look relatively healthy. So if I go out and I'm wearing a corset to hold my spine in place, that looks like I'm just, you know, I have some kinks. It's part of a bigger project. Yes. So there's actually sort of two directions this project is going, and they're both just playing with. So all of my art practice is finding these little bits of overlooked nature and drawing attention to them. I spend a lot of time looking at crusty twigs. And at some point I realized there's a few parallels there to other things in life. So there's a general, nature here versus nature out there question of people who, our perception that, oh, if you want to go see nature, you have to, that we are separate from nature, that, there's humans and then there's nature and we're not part of our environment. And I think that contributes a lot to, the problems we have with destroying our world, is we're not really recognizing that we are a part of our world. It's all around us, and we're affecting things on a micro scale. We just don't even, we don't even notice nature around us. Nature is something that you go out to go look at a cool bird. So one of the thoughts was just playing with really the contrast of these little bits of nature that grow into our human environments, and then taking it to absurd extremes, okay, well, what if we clad a car in these guys? So that's one direction it's going. And then the other direction that it's going, that I've actually applied for a grant from the Ontario Council for, that should have come in February, but we've yet to get results, so there's that, is a disability art grant, where so it's a grant for artists with disabilities, or projects that broach topics of disability, so in this case both, and it's sort of drawing parallels between invisible, overlooked nature, hidden in plain sight, versus invisible disability, and drawing attention to that. But it's humorous. There's something there, but I have trouble expressing it as a nicely packaged thought. It's whenever I talk to people about this, they're like, yeah, there's something there, but there's how do I package that something there? What's the 5-word summary? I'm going to pop you over here for the afternoon in early summer. Mount has these ancient trees around the estate, and there are hundreds of tiny worlds where main branches diverge. That sounds lovely. I'd say send me an invitation and I can apply for a grant for it, but I haven't had the best track record with those, so I have hidden disability, dark green with sunflowers on them. I attempted to start simple bags and scarves are still used by disabled. Yeah. Well, I think, yes, I agree. I think we can come up with some help. I'm hoping I can hive mind some upcoming grant applications too. They've actually completely removed the deadlines. There used to be deadlines, then they turned into cutoff dates, and now they've done away with those even. So it's just apply whenever and you'll get results, some 5 months later. Which, I mean, neat, I guess. It's a long while. One direction you can take is to link to specific human stories. Okay, yeah. I'm going to start another one up here. Oh, let's just turn this around. I thought Canada was better than this. Sorry, in what way? What is this in this case? One person's story, then that's very true. Yes, that is very true. Yeah, and so with the corset thing, I thought, well, okay, I guess there's a performance art aspect, like, have someone walking around in that crazy getup and see, I mean, the thing is, it will make that person's disability all the more invisible, which is part of what's fun with that. It's like, then you're just a weirdo wearing some really weird fetish wear, right? The way they are with your applications, they sound like they've gone British. Yeah, I mean, the truth is they're constantly cutting, like, whenever there's budget cuts, the arts are always the first to go. And so demand for support for the arts is going up, and the funding is going down, so it's like, okay, well, apparently this year they were only able to fund 16.6% of projects. Initially, I was particularly upset because they used to have this, apparently it was rare, although I don't quite understand how, but this status when you applied to your grants, where it would say that it's like, I got this status that said it's recommended, and I had to go digging through their website to find out what recommended meant, because it wasn't funded or rejected were the two regular ones. And it turned out that it was like, okay, well, you got all the points. Like, there's a minimum number of points for you to qualify for a grant. Like, there's a two-stage process for granting decisions, I guess. So the first stage is they have a jury decide, how many points you get on artistic merit and feasibility and stuff. And if you make the minimum grade, then you get recommended to the funding committee, and then then they decide who they're giving money to. And so initially I was kind of upset because I had a honestly much less well-written grant application for a similar project. In fact, just an earlier iteration of the same project, but like I didn't have nearly as much support material. Everything was much more poorly written, and I had gotten recommended, and then the two grants now I got just rejected, just not funded. And so I thought, oh no, like, I'm just getting worse. But no, I think they actually finally removed that thing because it was just ridiculous. Because in the letter, the wording in the letter was the same, where I was like, well, you met the criteria, blah, 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 you exceeded the minimum number of points, but we're not giving you money. Anyway, I don't really know what to do about that, because I'd been frustrated. I've had a sort of meltdown health disaster early in the pandemic that was probably a long time coming, but prior to that, in the several months prior, I was making decent money, some 40,000 or something, but the amount of time that I was putting in, like if you counted the hours, the amount of effort that was taking, I was working a lot more than full time. So it was, on an hourly basis, it was less than a minimum wage. It was not sustainable. And I didn't really have a way of changing that. Without really getting into some much larger works and much larger galleries selling to bigger clients. And how do you do that but with government funding, right? So I'm in a bit of a catch-22 where I do know how to make some money with my art, but I seem to not know how to scale it in any meaningful way. So we'll see. Right now I'm just going to carry on and do what I can. But yeah, I do feel like there's something there with the invisible disability. I just don't know exactly what it is. I don't know exactly how to express it. Oh, boyfriend is ringing. Bye. Bye. I don't think we even have options like that. There. Oh, really? I know that Canada has more than, like, the US. But, even, like, In the US, it's called the National Endowment for the Arts, and then like individual cities and states will have their own art funds as well that give grants. There's also like nonprofit organizations and the like. These things do exist. I don't really know what they are in the UK, but I would imagine that they're there. It really does vary country to country how much funding there is, but there is always some funding for the arts. Like if you go to, one of the big galleries or museums, and there's you'll see a bunch of little logos funded by, all these government agencies. Exist, but they aren't common and probably apply to public projects, etc. Yeah, I mean, I think there's also like a difference of, like, there's a lot of local artists for whom, grants don't even enter into the equation. Like, it's not, it's not even a thing that's considered. I just look at, of my friends and studio mates who have managed to make a jump to showing in public galleries and doing, larger projects. Like there's a lot of artists out there who will just they'll sell at little community fairs, and they'll print cards, and they'll sell a few little paintings online. And I mean, I did that for a long time. I think that you kind of because there's so much effort that goes into, like, so much overhead that goes into, oh well, you have to package the individual cards and do this fulfillment and whatever for each little thing. Unless you have a massive production volume and can hire someone to do that, then you run out of time to actually make new art, and especially like make larger, more interesting things. So it just kind of traps you. And it's unfortunate because, again, it's like, well, can't get the grant without the project, can't get the project without the grant, can't get the exhibition without the grant, can't get the grant without the exhibition. And I've figured my way around some of those puzzles, but not all. I often spend more time not arting than arting. Yes. Yeah. And you sort of get dragged into this overhead, and then you feel guilty for, doing the fun stuff instead of doing the not fun stuff, and then you feel guilty for not doing art when you're an artist. Yup. There's a real big mental piece there. So, I mean, I just have less... Long term, I have less energy. In the short term, I'm actually just pushing through. There's a sort of motivation that comes with, okay, well, this isn't about me, this is about allowing Jordan to stay home. So, foregone bureaucracy. Yeah. Yeah, it's a ton of bureaucracy. And so that's the other thing, is like these grant applications, you apply I applied to these grants in October. And then the results came out yesterday. So, you know, and in order to get the grant, in order to be eligible for especially the larger grants, you need to have a presentation booked, an exhibition. How are you going to get an exhibition without, like... It's a thing. I have a studio mate who's been incredibly successful with the grant system. She's wonderful. And she got a series of grants where her exhibition proposal, she sent me a letter. Like, she wrote the letter for herself that said we were going to show her art at the studio, and she had me sign it, so I signed it. And then she got grants based on that, and then got much better exhibition options. The one grant I'd applied to, actually, I still have to go chase that. It's a local art center, and the previous executive director, well, I have ADHD, hers is much crazier. And so she just kept everything in her head. She didn't tell the new executive director about any of the exhibitions that she'd promised to various people. So, because I had a letter from her, I, unlike some of the other people she promised, am actually going to get an exhibition under the new, more formal system. But, yeah. Bessie was on his way to an interview, got his wallet stolen with ID and social security card. You need the other to obtain a new one. Yep. Yep. Is there like a guarantor option? I had a fun little adventure when I was in Australia, where my passport took a very different holiday than I did. It traveled around to all sorts of cities while I was traveling around to all sorts of cities. It turns out that you can fly around Australia without any kind of ID. They do not check it. So I was flying. The closest thing to ID I had was an Ontario health card. Because I landed in Australia, went through customs, and then was so tired after 20-something hours of flying, I was talking to our family friends, and I put down my passport on top of a like fire extinguisher or something at the airport and forgot it. I think his mom has to get the birth certificate, but not everyone has that option. Yeah, so I know here there's a lot of things like that where it's like you need someone who can vouch for your identity. So like, I mean, mind you, things are more straightforward here. My mind boggles, for example, at the like level of complication of U.S. elections. See, because in Canada we have this very high-tech system where we just have some papers that you check off who you're voting for on, and you put them in a box, and then people count them, and yet somehow our votes get counted all in the like couple hours after an election. There's no like, okay, well, let's keep counting for weeks. Like, what are you doing? for weeks. How does this happen? But you can walk into a polling station and, you know, somebody can vote. Like any elector who has their ID, who has whatever, can vouch for your identity. Yes, this is this person, I know them, they live here. It's a big form, but, you know, you can do that the day of. Without any ID. I had to family verify your, but not since I was a kiddo. Oh boy. Yeah, in general, Canada's alright about some things, other than, you know, women's healthcare, where we suck just as much as the rest of the world, I guess. Sorry, not as much as the US, but... Americans, you just... Man... You just got the shit end of everything. Baby's out of there. Yeah! Yeah! Yeah. There's some wild stuff. When you're born in Texas, you have drilled into you that Texas is the best ever, because they know when you leave, you're gonna be flooded by embarrassment and to need to balance it out somehow. Oh. Oh, I have an incoming call. Is it important? Let's see. Hello?
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 Hi, you still do a speech service?
We're an artist co-op, so we have a number of artists. We don't do like house painting. Okay. Which first house size mural? How detailed your mural? I mean, honestly, I'd love to do some mural work. It's like every so often these opportunities come up, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't have. It's one of these, like, I don't have the experience. How do I get the experience other than doing it? But it looks unique. I have to say, like, the US in general, that this, like, American, exceptionalism. Oh, why this couldn't happen? We're Americans. You know, you're just humans like everyone else. Also, the other thing that confuses me about, sort of like the American persona is this, like, deification of the founding fathers. Like, what's up with that? They're just some guys. But, like, all this, like, trying to figure out what some guy hundreds of years ago meant when he wrote, like, what? The couple who followed us a block while playing guitar singing Pray the Gay Away is still one of my highlights. Oh boy, that's exciting. Also, dedication. But hey, at least they weren't threatening you? Just singing? I'm confused for a second and then got the giggles. They were giving it their all. Americans think Brits are all fancy and not the barely able to stand drunk peeing off a balcony reality. Brits are fancy. Since when? Well, yeah, I mean, that is a sort of... There's a stereotype of, like, the posh Brits and... snooty French and whatever. Oh, the French one is true. Well, that one's also regional though. Like, there's some parts of France that are not that posh. Sister came over for my graduation. We were at Eurostar. Mom turned around and called us peasants, and that's what my sister remembers about British people. That is kind of an amusing choice of insult. I also don't get the elections that last, like, apparently forever. Like, it's always an election. See, here, we have elections, but it's like, okay, you get 40 days to campaign, that's it. Then it's over. One election. Everyone votes at the same time. It's not this like, okay, well these people vote first, and then these people vote a different way. Like, states' rights and all that, but like, then everybody's vote is counted differently? Doesn't seem quite right, does it? Every 4 years, hubby needs American Voting 101. I mean, except that, like, what throws me is that it's not every 4 years, it's like every year it's Because you have midterms and then somehow elections last over a year? Like election... Very strange. Whole year of campaigning thing seems very odd to me now. Yes! It is very odd to me. And even more so the past few years, seeing the benefits of more than two parties. Well, I mean, especially in the past few years, seeing the benefits of more than, like, one party and one... whatever is going on with the Republicans, because it's not... Trump is going to win again, isn't he? I mean, he's going to win the Republican nomination, but he's going to lose the general election. He's very divisive even within the Republican Party. So there's just one person running against him now in the primary. And, you know, she's going to lose in the primary, like, unless something magic happens with one of these court cases, well, the Republican Party's going to nominate him. But even within the Republican, within registered Republicans, there's like some 30% who just won't vote for him. I'm the only lefty in my family, most of my family. I mean, I would love to not follow American politics, but they kind of affect us a lot. Affect everyone a lot. But, like, you know, being America's hat, where they lead, we tend to follow to some massive extent. The older generation, especially in Jordan's family, seems to be like they consider themselves left, but there's a weird sort of left that, you know, is still stuck in the, you know, McCarthy era of why we're just persecuting anyone who's left, so then they, you know, by default, okay, well then, because, you know, Russia is left, Russia is good, therefore, whatever, and they're eating up Russian propaganda. It's bizarre. Where I was centralist when I left the States 20 years ago, I'm now considered the extreme left by those remaining family members. Yeah, I mean, like, the whole concept of right versus left just seems kind of broken, where it's like, you know, people associate with, oh, why, I am Baptist and whatever, and I'm conservative, but then they're not, like, the rhetoric doesn't match the actions, doesn't match the claims, doesn't match, like... The outrage about actors ever being anything other than white kind of cracks me up. Why this fictional character? How could you make a black Superwoman? Why not? Oh yeah, definitely. Just a lot of things are just age. been mean and fire today. Hope she's okay. Mean as fire. No filter. Just mean. Ooh. I mean, I was pretty stubborn on my last hospital trip, not gonna lie. I'd gone to the washroom after we got into the hospital. I needed to go to the washroom, and I just sort of collapsed in there. A paramedic came in. I was like, okay, we've got a bed for you. We need to get you to the bed. And I'm like, do we though? Okay, you can't just like lie on the hospital floor. That's gross. I'm like, really? Really? I was still coherent enough that, you know, I was catching the discussion between the paramedics and the nurses on staff, and I will savor forever the talk of I've got for you a miscarriage from the malpractice up the hall. Accurate. This is me ready for real spring. Yeah, I mean, we have false spring going on right now where like we had a super cold blast, but now it is like 14 degrees, gonna be 17 tomorrow. Then it's gonna get cold again, right? So but yeah, these are all just lichen. Is that a Twisby? Yes, this is a Twisby Eco. Yes, I have a couple of Ecos, and then I got a bunch of, what are they, oh my goodness. I am going insane. I'm forgetting everything. Not this guy. This is a Pilot Kakuno, in extra fine, I think. But then I also have, what are they? Sailor? The Sailor chibis that now come in? I've switched to fountain pen for all my like art inking. Not always with orange, although I do enjoy the fun variety of, you know, doing things in orange or hot pink every so often. Sorry, yes, platinum, that's what they are. Platinum, what are the cheapy platinums? The equivalent to the Pilot Kakunos. Anyway, I've got a whole bunch of extra fine pens, which is great for like fine lining, even lines. I've actually been thinking of getting some broader tips for some of the gigantic things that I'm doing with those grants that I didn't get. Haha. It can also just be the ink, like I don't know. Some inks just are really flowy. And even, like, I don't know what nib you have with the Eco, but they do tend to be pretty, they run a little wet, I think. So if you have a really flowy, wet ink, don't quote me, I have to say fountain pens are one of those things where I'm pretty glad that I just didn't get really into the hobby of it. I have a few pens and they work and it solves my problem, and that's great. And yeah. I use diamine ink. Yeah. So I think part of, like, I use a whole bunch of pigment inks and they all tend to be a little bit drier, so I think probably that helps. And then also this is an extra fine, so you can also, like, sometimes the nib can get a little bit out of place, so you can fiddle with that a little too. But also, like, I do have, you know, a different versions of the same model of pen, especially some of the cheaper ones where, like, it seems like, yeah, okay, I mean, mostly they're this thickness, but, you know, this one's super thin and this one's super thick. Mine feather quite a bit unless it's thick paper. Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, like, I'm drawing on watercolor paper, which has sizing on it. I'm a heretic about my fountain pens. Like, literally, the Ecos are probably the most expensive pens I have. I did have one of the whatever super bendy pilots at one point. Flex nibs? Oh, gold nib, whatever. I sold it to Ev. I've gotten stuck in my ways and I'm quite enjoying it. Just like not, you know, I do some amount of, definitely done my share of testing materials and what have you, but when it comes down to it, it's just like, okay, I just need some paint and some simple pens. 5:31, huh? Well, it might be a long night, but I am going to finish this tonight. It will feel great to have a... I mean, I'm not going to silver leaf it tonight, but that's a next week thing. Okay, I'm going to start playing with some paint. Made good progress. Yeah, at some point, so Jordan's out right now with the dog, but when Jordan gets back, I'm probably going to take a break for food, and I might put this on a private stream. Nice to have people to chat with. No. 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 Oh, I mean, it's all going to be covered with with silver leaf anyway, so I'm not super duper concerned. But was a little annoyed that I didn't have a proper clean paper handy. Clean towel. So they'll get a lot more detail than this, both in pen and in color, but I'm just trying to get something down here. Totally not also on cult pens. Any ink or pen recommendations? Have you ever used the Platinum Safari ink? Sorry, I have not used Platinum Safari. My My recommendation for fun inks is I really like these sketch inks. I don't know if Cult Pens has them. The Rohrer and Klinger sketch inks. They come in all sorts of fun colors. I like this orangey color and the pink. I really like doing life drawing and like portrait sketching in pink and then painting over it, because I find that the really obnoxious pink helps me not focus on trying to paint skin tones. Like it removes that, you know, mental block for me. So that's fun. They also have like lots of less absurd colors. Those are just the ones I've been having fun with. I also really like Sailor Suboku. That's what I've been doing my On the Skin of Giants with. Alright, which ink? Sailor Suboku is a, it's a dark blue black that I've been using for my On the Skin of Giants paintings. Do I have any of those handy to show? Maybe. I'm not On the Skin of Giants. There you are. This one is. Oh, the Rohrer and Klinger sketch ink. These guys? What I'm using right now is this one in Carmen. There's also, I also really like the pink, which is called Vrui. They also have like a dark green, lots of perfectly acceptable normal colors too, like grays and things, browns. I have a bunch of them. They are not widely available, but quite affordable when you can get them. Unlike the Sailor Suboku, which is just ferociously expensive. Widely available, ferociously expensive. But, you know. God, I have some fun with some things. Good sized bottles. Yeah, they're, these ones are 50 mils. There's also, like, they also have, no, sorry, that's detrimentous. Yeah, so like they also have, you know, the pink and the orange are quite bright. They also have this green, which is fun. Emma. Thea, which is like a brown, black almost. It's looking kind of tealy in the bottle, but I think it's just separation. Jewel, which is this reddish tone. They're super cheap, so I've got a bunch just because, you know, I think I placed an order somewhere because I'd spotted one of them and wanted to try it, and yeah, it was like, well, if I'm gonna pay for shipping from somewhere, might as well just try the bunch because they're actually not expensive at all. Now they are pigment inks, so they will dry up in your pens. They work well in TWSBIs and Platinum and Pilot pens. The Platinum? Yeah. The pens that have a nice seal, basically. Because they have like little, they're pigment based, so they'll have like little, you know, micro pigments in them, so they can clog up your pens if you don't have a nice seal on the pen. Which is just another reason why I have not really gotten into pen collecting, is because I don't have the wherewithal to take care of such things. Right, so the sketch ink, like, it is fountain pen safe. For fountain pens, roller balls, and brushes, waterproof. But, like, so there... Platinum are expensive. Like, the inks, yes. The inks are expensive. They also have... Sorry, I'm forgetting the name of the cheapy pens that I have, and I don't have one right here. Let me check. Sorry. A bunch of the Japanese companies have, they're like kids' pens. They're like school pens, the baseline models, and they're lovely. Like $10. Let me go find what I'm talking about. So, the pens I've been using the most recently are these Platinum Preppies. They are $6 in Canada, and that's Canadian dollars, which means they're like £4? £3? The converter inside is literally more expensive than the pen, but I like using them with a converter. This one actually I think has a cartridge in it that came with it. But usually I have a converter in these. I have a whole bunch of them because that's what I've been using for most of my, on the Skin of Giants and stuff. So I have like half a dozen of these. And they're a Japanese extra fine. So they are much finer than the TWSBI. But yeah, that's what I've been using. They're super cheap. I am not a pen collector. I can't tell you about pens and good nibs and whatever. I just like things that write smoothly without skipping and that will hold my waterproof pigment inks. So these are cheap. If I lose them, no big deal. If I beat them up, no big deal. They have a nice little lid that has a nice really tight seal. And they come in very fine. Cyan likes Lamy pens. Lamy pens are popular. I'm surprised that Cyan likes them because they are not particularly fine. And I thought Cyan likes the finest. Doesn't she get her nibs? Oh, maybe she gets them and then gets her. She's not getting nibs ground on a 5-pound pen. Is she? Will you stream next week? Yes, I'm streaming every week now. And if I don't stream, you bother me about it? Because I have this bad habit of becoming a hermit and trying to deal with all my issues by myself, and it's not healthy. So I've promised myself that I'm not going to do that anymore, and part of that is just, yeah, you know what, sometimes things are difficult. I'm still going to stream, I'm still going to post my stuff. I have so many videos that are past due for posting. I have stuff to post on the shop, I have classes to advertise, whatever. There's a lot of things coming out in the next little while that I'd put on the back burner because of applications and then other stuff, and now priorities have shifted around, and so all of that stuff will be coming out in the next little while. I'll be super active, super busy, super yeah. I will also probably continue to do the thing that I started in December that was really lovely, where I'd just post private streams on various places. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop this for now. And then I may come back to it later. But I need some dinner. And I'm actually hungry for once, so I'm gonna go eat some food. Yeah. I may post a private stream later on if people are up late or early or whatever. Yeah. But this is fun. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Bye.